Hello and welcome to the Inner Circle weekly video. I'm going to crack on straight away. Start off with the Nasdaq. A report written a couple of weeks ago basically referenced these two black lines once the black line actually moved to the top, and said that if we managed to close below this weekly line, that would open up space for a more significant fall, and we actually pretty much held it to the tick, and then we had a pops and a time continuation buy. Or price could rotate all the way back up to the weekly resistance, which has since dropped slightly, and that's where we are now. So very much a decision time for the Nasdaq. We need a weekly close above that level, and that would open up the ability to rally once more. So pivotal time there. Other indexes in America are also threatening to do the same thing. So with the S&P, or the E-mini future, Friday saw the positive close, a new weekly high, and so that is bullish. And if we do the Dow, it's pretty much the same thing. The other thing to note on the Dow is the fact that we've had no resistance lines move above price, so that one is the strongest of all of them. If I just do the Russell future, this is the weakest one, and again we're right at this weekly level that's moved to the top. I think we went there pretty much to the tick on Friday, and we're not doing much so far early on Monday. Moving on to Europe, the week before the DAX held its crucial weekly support for the second time. Again, we've rotated back up again, and we're a little bit in no man's land. The levels above the pink and the red are daily resistances, and so they're nowhere near as important as the black or the blue lines. Eurostoxx is in a similar sort of state of flux, as we're really stuck in the middle. The weekly lines, these black ones, are still way below price, so nothing has really moved above of any significance. If we move on to the FTSE, this was a short position that had been taken because we went below this weekly black line. Didn't really develop, and then we had a move lower that was rejected that formed another doji in the beginning of last week, and so we exited that trade. Not much to say about the FTSE, pretty quiet. Moving on to currencies, midweek we had a UFO, which is that blue arrow, but not at resistance, and with no resistances above price. It was simply a warning sign, not a call to action to get short or anything. We still have that upside big level at 116.17, which is really where the focus is. Going on to the pound. Pound was also one that reversed back the other way. So we'd had a couple of sell signals, and then we actually hit our stop at 129.49, if I remember correctly. We closed above 3 up on the range deviation pivots, which shows some sort of acceleration phase, and again we have no levels immediately above. Moving on to dollar CAD, we had a breakdown based on the Bank of Canada's interest rate rise, having been in quite a tight congestion period. I want to concentrate on that black square, which is a time continuation sell when what we call divergence is a continuation pattern. We also closed below the third range deviation pivot down, which initiated a short position, and we're sort of carrying on. the major target is down at 124.60, so another 160, 170 points away. Had a similar sort of move in the Aussie dollar, took out that monthly resistance, actually with in decent ease. Actually, it was news driven, but we've gone through that point, and so now the major support is 77.79. That's the level that needs to hold on a daily close basis to keep that uptrend intact. Plenty of space above, no actual peak energy or expansion lines until all the way till 88.48, which is 1,000 points away. Moving on to precious metals. Gold last week held that daily support, which is that red line, pretty much the tick, had a minor doji, and then managed the decisive close above 1217.8, which was a weekly level. And now there's space for it to rally. Really the focus there will be at 12.55. Silver, not surprisingly, is doing a similar sort of thing. We had a rejection of a breakdown of this hammer doji, I think it is. We went pretty close to 3 down and rejected that emphatically. We then closed above the monthly line on Friday at 15.88, and we also had a level at 15.98, and now it's trying to get above 16.13. So again, threatening to open up some space for a rally. Moving on to crude oil, it's a pretty volatile week. We had a buy signal on Tuesday, which closed above the third deviation pivot up, which shows some expansion of velocity and range. We stopped at that monthly line, 46, 47, pretty much, just went a couple of ticks above it. But by the end of the week, we managed to close beyond that level. We've still got this zone, a condensed zone of weekly resistance that it has to get over before we can get truly bullish on it. That extends from 47.32 to 55. Moving on to stocks and sectors. Computer games has moved all the way up to number 2 in the sector list, and so has come to our attention. On the bottom of the list, down in the 190s, there's really no change there. It remains largely oils, but we've also got auto as well, which we're going to have a quick look at in a moment. This is Activision, which is the biggest stock in the gaming sector. The reason that we're interested in it, weekly has moved to the top. We've now had potentially trying to build another negative signal today. So on our watch list, what we want to do is wait for the next set of earnings. What we want to see ideally is good news, bad action, or bad news, bad action, something like that. So starting to monitor it and look at it. EA Sports is another one in that list. Hasn't been performing as well. The weekly line has also moved to the top some time ago. It's not really doing very much at the moment. Other stocks or sectors that we've been interested in is uranium, and we did have a uranium position a few weeks ago, which was liquidated because we failed, or the price of uranium itself failed at the weekly resistance. It's since recovered. We managed to close above it on Friday, and so we have got long of the ETF, which is URA. It's been performing pretty well. So we got long on Friday. You can see we had a major reversal here, which was a power play buy and divergence, and we're up a little bit today as well. The other stock that is of interest is UEC. It's a bit slower, but it's above that monthly and weekly line at 146. Other stocks that are in our hit list or current positions, VSTM, which is a biotech. had an explosive move on institutional buying and is just drifting back at the moment, which is not really that surprising. Going on to auto, this is sector number 195 I think, and O'Reilly Automotive collapsed. Its sales were actually up, but not as up as what the market expected, and when it's an unloved sector, that's what happens to it. We received two sets of buyers, time continuation buy, daily support has moved to the bottom, and then we've had a power play there, so aggressive traders have had permission to get involved in that one. Also down at the bottom is LB, which is LB Brands. The reason for getting involved is the monthly has moved to the bottom, and we've stabilised just above that point, had a time continuation buy. So again, it's still got to get over this level here, which I think is at 47.52, but then that would open up some space. SNA, Snap-on Tools, another one that's been in the doldrums, weekly moved to the bottom, had a pops buy where it held support, so again, aggressive traders had the opportunity to get long. If we trade above 159.74, that black line is actually going to move back up here because it's a predictive basis, and that would open up even more space, so looking pretty positive there. That can't be said for Conoco, COP, which for some reason unknown is really operating in an inverse to the oil price. So oil goes up and Conoco tends to go down, or not go down very much, and then oil went down and Conoco went up. So not much logic there. It's just about hanging in there, but close below 43.02, or if you want to give it a little bit more room, the absolute low at 42.50, then that long position will be liquidated. OSUR, Aura Shore Technologies, a long position from that breakout power play buy, just slowly edging higher. Nothing to get too excited about, but it's doing a reasonable job. AREX, AREX, Approach Resources, some money was taken off the table on this time continuation reversal. The line in the sand is 269, that daily support, which it held pretty much perfectly a week or so ago, and we're just edging higher, but not a lot going on there. Home builders are number 3, so also on our watch list. We're really waiting for results to come out in the stock called DHI. We failed at the monthly resistance on the ETF, and if I do DHI, we had a breakout, sort of retraced a little bit, but we await its results, which are next week, so nothing happening until that occurs, and again looking for good news bad action on a crowded trade. And then just to finish up, might as well do FANG. Gives us some clues about the NASDAQ. Facebook is the strongest one and broke up last week, so it took out its final resistance and sort of edged higher. Key support is 155.78. You don't want it closing back below there. Do Amazon. The weekly's moved to the top at 10.17, so that's a pretty big barrier. We haven't quite reached there yet. For those hedge funds who always have to have a position, they would have taken advantage of the time continuation at the daily Heikin-Ashi support to bolster their positions. Google. Similar situation, coming up to the weekly resistance again. There was a buy on the same day as Amazon, although it wasn't actually at support, so not as powerful. Netflix. a doji at the lows there. It did look like it was breaking down again. 166.56. That's the focus there. And the last one there is Apple. Repeatedly held 142.20, so big support there. At the end of this month, if we do not take out 156.90, then the monthly is going to join the weekly line at the top, and that will create a very powerful barrier. So watching that for the end of the month.